guys, Cooper Carter here for G66, and in this video I want to show you how you can quickly and easily get a killer crunch rhythm tone out of the Axe 2 XL. Let's check it out. Alright, so here we are starting with a blank preset, and as usual I'm just going to run shunts all the way across so that we get sound from the input of the Axe all the way to the output of the Axe. So in this video I'm going to show you just how we can get a rhythm preset very, very quickly and very easily. So what I'm going to do is just start with an amplifier and a cab block. And right off the bat, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna select the Plexi 50 watt high amplifier. And I'm gonna go with this cab over here, and I really like these two James Santiago IRs that he made and put into the Axe for the factory use. So I'm gonna go with this EJ 1250 here, which is a 212. And right off the bat, let's just hear how that sounds. All right, so that's a really cool rhythm tone right away. I love the way the Plexi sounds, but I want to crank it up a little bit. So let's first off just bump this drive up to around 7 or so, somewhere between 6 and 7. And I want to actually add a little bit of bottom end to this tone. It's a little fizzy at the moment, so I'm going to bump this this bass up a little bit as well. And I'm going to take some of the mids up too. And then I'm just going to dial this treble back a little bit. Just kind of take out some of that fizziness. You want some of the fizziness because obviously that's what helps you cut through a mix. And a lot of people say like, oh, this tone sounds fizzy or whatever when I hear it alone. But if you go back and listen to most of your favorite rhythm tones on albums, and if you're lucky enough to be able to get the stem tracks and hear them in isolation, most of them are really fizzy, and that's what actually makes them present in a mix. So I'm also going to pop this presence up a bit here, and everything else I'm going to leave at default, and let's just see the difference that that's made. So again, a little bit more chunky, a little less top. Also just kind of brings the clarity out while not making it as harsh. So I think the tone is a lot more defined now. So I would be happy with that as a rhythm tone right there. As you see, I really did not do much at all, and I would be happy to go out and use that rhythm tone right now. But because I want to make this video a little more useful than just showing you how I just dialed in a couple of things, I want to show you the benefits we can get from actually putting a whole nother amplifier and cabinet setup in this preset. So obviously, with the Axe 2, we've got so much versatility, and I think a lot of people really don't appreciate how much you can gain from adding a completely different amplifier into your tone that's doing something slightly different tonally. So whereas this amplifier may be covering one area of the tone, a lot of your favorite tones people actually are surprised to find out are not one amplifier, but are actually two amplifiers mixed, or one amplifier through two different cabinets mixed, or one amp and cab with two different microphones mixed. So a lot of your favorite tones are not actually just coming from one setup. There's something different that they've either done in the studio, or a lot of guys will run two different heads live. So let's actually just go ahead and set this cab to mute on its bypass mode, and we're just going to go ahead and bypass that, and let's add a completely new amplifier and cab line here. I'm going to run shunts through that and pop this up onto the grid here. So what I'm going to do now is set this also to mute, and on this cab I'm going to go with this other James Santiago, the Altec cab, and just so you can hear what the difference between those two cabs is, I can just copy this amplifier right here and paste it onto this one. And now we've got the same amp, but we've got different cabs. So here's the first cab we used. And now here's this new cab. Remember, these are the same settings on the amplifier. So obviously the two different IRs are giving you two very different sounds, and I think that these two sounds really complement each other very well. So if we turn on both of these cabs and we pan this one almost all the way to the left, we're gonna go -75, And this one almost all the way to the right, I'm gonna go with plus 75. You can hear these two tones working together, and remember, these two amps are set to the exact same settings. So really what we're hearing is the same amp through two different cabs with a little bit of panning going on. And you can already see how this is making this tone much broader, but also a little more focused. So it's covering a broader tonal spectrum, but because of how the two complement each other, it's becoming a more focused, unique tone. So let's hear that. So I really love the effect of that. And if you guys aren't listening to this video on a good setup, so if you're just listening to it out of laptop speakers or something, this effect may be lost. I'd highly recommend plugging in some headphones, or if you have a good stereo separated monitor system, using that, so you can really get the nuances of what's going on here. I'm actually gonna go ahead and change this amplifier to a different amp type so that we have a completely different tone going on, and we can cover even more ground while imparting this tone with even more unique character. So what I'm gonna do is go to this Plexi 50 watt normal, which is just the normal channel of the same amplifier. And I'm gonna go in here and make this amp a good bit gainier than the other one was. So I'm gonna bring that down actually a little bit. I have it around 8, and if we go ahead and just mute that, we can hear bringing the gain up just makes it a little more saturated. And I'm actually gonna jump this over here into the middle so that we can hear it a little bit better while we're tweaking. So again, here's kind of where the gain was, and we're gonna put it up more toward this territory. So that's getting a little squishy for my taste. You kind of lose some of that chunkness that we had before. Since we raised this drive here, which is saturating the amp a good bit more, we're gonna wanna bring this bass way back because it's just gonna get flubby. So we're gonna bring the bass down. I also want to compensate for the saturation by adding back in some of that sizzle that we took out on the other amplifier. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and boost this presence way up as well. Because of the way that the amplifier is being driven with more gain, we want to give some of the clarity back. So you can hear our two tones here. Let's, again, I'm going to pop this cab over into the middle for a minute here. So this is our first one. And this is our second. So two very distinct tones that are doing two very different things. Now, because of the way that we've dialed these, both these tones are still usable. I don't not like either one, but they work so much better in tandem than either one of them would, covering a lot of ground on its own. So let's go ahead and pan these cabinet blocks back, and I'm actually gonna pan them a little bit further this time. And so now we have this tone. I think that's just a super aggressive, great tone that's kind of right on the edge of mid-gain, classic rock crunch and higher gain, modern crunch. So it's kind of drawing a nice line between those two eras. The last thing I want to do though is just put a little bit of reverb in there for some space. One of the things I like to do is get a really large reverb, like the large room, and at its default settings, it's gonna be way too much reverb. We'll hear that now. I mean, it just sounds like we just drowned our amplifiers in a stadium or something. What I'm gonna do is actually boost this mix up, which sounds counterintuitive. So you're gonna hear what that sounds like now. It's gonna be massive. And that is way too much reverb. So what I'm gonna do is actually just take this time down here to almost nothing. Like we're gonna say, let's just say 0.5 and see how that sounds. I'm actually gonna take this up a tiny little bit here and give that a shot. So just giving it a little bit of space. And again, this is a subtle effect. It's not something you're gonna maybe hear on laptop speakers, but it's gonna sound really great over a nice monitoring system. If you plug in your headphones, you'll be able to hear that too. So I think we got a great rhythm tone here, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna post this preset on the Axe Change as always, so you guys can download it. And until next week, where I'll be showing you a simple lead tone, keep rocking, have fun.